Part 145. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 1441. Chapter 1441, The Sinking Fiancé 2. Stop talking nonsense, who are you? Why do you want to hit me? I didn't have much patience to interact with the little girl, and the force in her hand increased, which made the girl frown. It hurts, the girl's face turned red with pain, and her other small hand kept slapping Chilili's hand and squeezing hers. Her strength was too weak, and Chilili didn't even raise her eyebrows. Who are you? Intuition told Chilili that the person in front of her couldn't come out to beat her out of nowhere. He must know her, but she didn't know her. The girl looked at her as if she were looking at an enemy, which made her feel very uncomfortable. Woo woo woo, my name is Guanshuangbing. Guanshuangbing? Chilili searched quickly in her mind, but could not find any tasks related to this name. She was even more certain that she did not know this person. Why did you hit me so hard? Chilil asked in depth. The young girl was silent this time. She didn't speak. Instead, she looked at Chilili with eyes full of hatred. Even if she pinched her in pain, she was unwilling to let go and tell her identity. Let her go, a gentle voice sounded. Tang Feishan walked over quickly and walked between Chilili and Guanshuangbing. Tang Feishan's appearance stunned Chilili for a second, and Qian Yuman, who was watching the excitement from the side, frowned in displeasure. She could already guess who this young girl was. 80% of the time he is related to Tang Feishan, either his suitor or his fiancée who is almost getting married. You know her? Chilil shook off Guanshuangbing's hand and looked at Tang Feishan with cold eyes. Tang Feishan nodded slowly, looked at Guanshuangbing, and didn't know how to introduce him for a while. Why are you here? Tang Feishan turned around and asked Guanshuangbing. Why can't you come and I can't see which woman stole your heart? Guanshuangbing said angrily, looking at Chilili's eyes. He wanted to kill her. Your fiancé, Chilili, who also guessed Guanshuangbing's identity, directly pointed out the relationship between Guanshuangbing and Tang Feishan. Yes. No. The two people spoke almost at the same time. Tang Feishan's denial made Guanshuangbing's tears burst instantly. Brother Feishan, why do you deny my relationship with you? I am your fiancé and almost married you. If not this woman, I am your wife now. Our wedding is ready, but you do this for women, abandon me. Guanshuangbing cried sadly, crying in a pitiful way that Chilili would never do. Chilili rarely cried, let alone crying so beautifully and touchingly, it was even more impossible. Tang Feishan's fiancé is definitely not the same type as Chilili. Guanshuangbing, who loves to cry, doesn't need to be guessed to know that she is the kind of petite and weak woman, and Xiajiabiu, who loves to be coquettish and clingy. Compared with the cold and quiet Chilili, she is much more feminine. But the level of beauty is completely different. Shuangbing, we have broken off our engagement and we are just friends now. I don't want it, Guanshuangbing yelled at Tang Feishan, shaking his head sadly. I don't want to break off the engagement with you, I want to be your wife, and I want to grow old with you. Kylie stood aside indifferently, watching the two people arguing, and clenched her hands unconsciously. Then, he turned around and left without hesitation. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 1442. Chapter 1442, Sinking Fiancé 3. It's noisy, it's too noisy. After Chilili left, Tang Feishan immediately chased after her, grabbed Chilili's arm, and explained anxiously. Don't get me wrong. I have no relationship with Shuangbing now. We are just friends at most. Don't get me wrong. What's the misunderstanding? Chilil raised the corners of her mouth with a sarcastic smile, and her eyes fell on Guan Shuangbing, who was still crying. It's good that you didn't misunderstand. Qi Lili sneered again and quickly shook off Tang Feishan's hand. What could I have misunderstood? You don't seem to understand the situation clearly. I have a boyfriend and I can't interfere with you. You are deliberately quarreling in front of me now? What's the point? Are you still holding my hand now? It's ridiculous to let me go. Qi Lili sneered again, looking at Tang Feishan with even colder eyes. Unexpectedly, Qi Lili would react like this. Tang Feishan froze on the spot, looking at the ruthless Qi Lili with some confusion. Letting go of Qi Lili's hand, Tang Fei lowered his head in despair. The sadness in his eyes could not be concealed at all, and the aura around him became depressed. Sorry for causing trouble to you. Tang Feishan nodded, turned, and left, taking Guan Shuangbing with him when he left. Guan Shuangbing, who was taken away, seemed still unconvinced and yelled at Qi Lili. Wait, you mistress, I won't let it go like this. Are you happy to break up other people's families? I, Guan Shuangbing, am not someone to be bullied. Guan Shuangbing was like a wild cat, constantly struggling to get away from Tang Feishan's family. Imprisonment, scolding Qi Lili, and threats. It's inexplicable. Qian Yuman was also a little angry, and she was no less angry than Qi Lili. What happened to Feishan? I thought he had settled the matter with his fiancée, and now his fiancée actually came out to cause trouble for you. This is none of my business, Qi Lili said indifferently. Qian Yuman pouted and nodded. That's right. You have a good relationship with Murong Ye now. There is really nothing to worry about Fei Chen and his fiancée. Let's go. Qi Lil walked away with long legs. Guan Shuangbing, who was taken away by Tang Feishan, never broke away from Tang Feishan's hand and walked a certain distance. Tang Feishan's expression was always gentle, while the man's expression was stern. Shuangbing, don't bother Lili anymore. Why? Guan Shuangbing was still unconvinced. Feel sorry for her? No. Why? Didn't you hear? She already has a boyfriend, and it's impossible for her and me. Guan Shuangbing tilted her head and thought gloomily. At that time, she thought Qi Lili was telling a lie, but she didn't expect it to be true. So, you gave up our marriage to seek marriage, but it turns out that he already has a boyfriend and is unwilling to be with you. This bad news made Guan Shuangbing even more depressed. His feelings abandoned her like this, but in the end, she didn't get her own feelings either. Is she so unbearable? How do you know Lili? Tang Feishan didn't ask just now, but that doesn't mean he didn't find out. Guan Shuangbing looked away hesitantly, wanting to laugh and pass him by, but seeing Tang Feishan's serious expression, he held his tongue. Mom told me. Lu Rong, Tang Feishan frowned. Yes, Guan Shuangbing nodded wildly, wondering why Tang Feishan's expression became increasingly ugly. Don't ask me, who do you want to be a couple with Lili? His Majesty's mentality keeps changing. At first, it was naturally the first wife. Later, he found that Murong was also good. Later, he thought he should still be the first wife. Later, I didn't want to think about it anymore, and the cycle just kept going. Every time they show up, they change their mind. Covering face in melancholy. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1443. Chapter 1443, Sinking Fiancé 4. Yes, Guan Shuangbing nodded wildly, wondering why Tang Feishan's expression became increasingly ugly. Did she do something wrong? Find his boredom. I came to Qi Lili today because I was indignant. The wedding was ruined and I couldn't become Tang Feishan's wife. It wasn't too much to come here to trouble her. Okay, you go back. I hope what happened today will not happen again in the future, otherwise it will be difficult for us to be friends again. After Tang Feishan said this, he left Guan Shuangbing and left. Guan Shuangbing pouted in dissatisfaction and murmured angrily. You told me not to look for it, so I won't look for it? I, Guan Shuangbing, have never been so embarrassed in my life. Guan Shuangbing's hatred for Qilal comes from the bottom of his heart. Originally, she was happily preparing to be Tang Feishan's bride. Everything was ready and she would be getting married in a few days. As a result, Tang Feishan unilaterally terminated the engagement, shattering her dream of becoming his bride. Then she encountered many things, including ridicule from her relatives and friends, who thought she was an abandoned person. Even if it was not ridicule, they were sympathetic. Since she was a child, she has never been so wronged and humiliated. No matter whether others care about her or ridicule her, it is always a kind of torture to her. Tang Feishan walked for a while and picked up his mobile phone. After much hesitation, the call was still not broadcast. Lili, she whispered softly, with deep love. Even he himself doesn't know what to do with this relationship. Putting away his phone, Tang Feishan looked in the direction of home, his eyes narrowed slightly. Lu Rong, what do you want to do? LV Rong definitely had bad intentions when she told Guan Shuang about the existence of Bing Qi Lili. When she broke up him and Lili, what did she want to do this time? They have broken up and there is nothing left to separate. Qi Lili and Qian Yuman walked together. Murong Ye, who had not seen Qi Lili for a while, had already started bombarding her with phone calls, asking Qian Yuman to return his girlfriend to him. In the end, Qi Lili scolded Murong Ye. Ye then told them to be careful and safe like a little daughter-in-law, and went to the meeting seriously. Sister? Sister, Qian Yuman called Qi Lili several times before calling Qi Lili back to her senses. What's wrong? You're still asking me what's wrong. I called you and you didn't respond. What are you thinking about? Qian Yuman looked at Qi Lili in confusion and asked curiously. Sister? What do you think, if I marry Ye? Qi Lili's abrupt reply made Qian Yuman stunned for a second. You have to ask yourself, do you want to marry him? But Murong is really a good person. At least you won't be wronged if you marry him. Although you won't fall in love vigorously, you won't be hurt in any way. It's not like me and Mr. Tang, there are a lot of things that have been tormenting us, and we still haven't gotten back together. Qi Lili and Murong Ye's relationship, although they often fight, they never really quarreled. Yes. If you marry him, you won't suffer any injustice, Qi Lili thought in a panic. Why, Murong proposed to you again? Qilale nodded. For the 100th time, almost every day, I'm so annoyed with him. Ever since they started dating, he has made various proposals for marriage, some seriously and some casually. At first, Qi Lili refused every time, but later she just kept silent and didn't answer. In her opinion, they had just gotten together, and their relationship had not reached the point of marriage, at least in her case. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1444. Chapter 1444 Father Tang's Invitation. Ever since they started dating, he has made various proposals for marriage, some seriously and some casually. At first, Qi Lili refused every time, but later she just kept silent and didn't answer. In her opinion, they had just gotten together, and their relationship had not reached the point of marriage, at least in her case. Murong Ye has been feeling towards her for 3 or 4 years, while she has only been feeling towards him for the past few months. However, Qi Lili had forgotten that it only took 3 months from when she first met and fell in love with Tang Feishan to when they got engaged. There is a big difference between the desperate situation back then and the step-by-step process this time. In the end, it's because people have grown up, or because their feelings are not deep enough. This question may not even be answered by Chi Lil herself. The hurt caused by the first relationship was too deep and painful, and it hurt my heart just to touch it. While Chi Lili I was still debating whether to marry Murong yet, Qian Yuman called. When she saw the phone number, Qian Yuman was still stunned for a few seconds. Why did he call me? Who is it? Chi Lili I looked at the phone number. Although the name was not recorded, Chi Lili I also looked at it and recognized the person of the phone number. Tang Wentao, Tang Feishan's father, was the biggest resistance to her and Feishan being together at first. Seeing this phone number, Chi Lil still resisted in her heart and immediately looked away. Qian Yuman looked at the phone and felt depressed. After much deliberation, she still answered the call. Even though she and Tang Yuj have not yet remarried, and even though Tang Yuj has severed ties with his father, Tang Wentao is still her son's grandfather. Hey, Dad, Qian Yuman consciously changed her name to Tang Wentao. It would be silly to still call him Uncle Tang as before. She also promised to improve the relationship between Tang Wentao and Tang Yuj. Even if they severed their relationship, blood ties could not be severed so easily. Taking the initiative to call Tang Wentao Dad can make Tang Wentao have a better impression of her, and it will be easier to build a relationship between their father and son in the future. When are you going home? Qian Yuman's words really made Tang Wentao's tone and attitude much better. His voice was not so serious. Instead, he was approachable. He took the initiative to ask Qian Yuman when he was going home. That was home. Qian Yuman couldn't guess what Tang Wentao was asking. He didn't want her, who was not yet his daughter-in-law, to go home. He simply wanted to ask when he would bring his precious grandchildren to see him. Before Qian Yuman could ask again, Tang Wentao had already announced domineeringly. Come back for lunch and close the door with the kids. Okay, Qian Yuman agreed readily, and the call was hung up. Sister, I don't have time to elaborate. I'm going to pick up little Mickey and Ruru to see their grandpa and grandma. You can do whatever you want. Qian Yuman had no sisterly feelings, so she left Chi Lili on the road and drove to Murong's house to pick up Ruru. Then she went to the group to find her son, who insisted on going to the conference room to accompany the meeting. It turns out that little Mickey couldn't understand the content of their meeting at all, so he still pretended to be an adult, listening to the content of the meeting and nodding aside, as if he really understood. The cute and interesting appearance immediately captured the magnetic creatures present. Even some male creatures were very fond of this prince. They are not afraid that the chairman will scold them for not holding meetings well, but they want to go up and flatter them immediately. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1445. Chapter 1445. The family has a pair of children. Qian Yuman successfully picked up Ruru. Ruru heard that she was going to see her grandfather, but her little face was still confused. Although Ruru has recognized Tang Yuj as her godfather since she was a child, she has never met Tang Wentao and the others. Tang Yuj has severed ties with his father, so how could he still bring his goddaughter to meet Tang Wentao? However, after little Mickey explained that he was Ruru's father's father, Ruru happily accepted it and even said excitedly that she wanted to buy a gift for her grandpa. During this period, Ruru and Qian Yuman got along more and more. The inherent strong feelings between the two continued to rise. When Qian Yuman was no longer around, Ruru would always talk about when her mother would come and see her. Ruru is becoming more and more dependent on Qian Yuman, and the happiest person is naturally herself. As long as the relationship becomes deeper in the future, she will no longer be so dependent on Murong 11. At that time, she can let Tang Yuj speak and bring Ruru back to her, and the family of four will truly be reunited. hold a little guy by one hand and walked into the Tang family, attracting the attention of many servants. Seeing the cute appearance of the two little guys, they all showed envy, love, and loving expressions. Ruru and little Mickey looked like her and Tangyuj respectively. No one would suspect that they were not a family. Young master, young lady, good afternoon. Everyone they see when they pass by will greet them enthusiastically, and their eyes will stay on the faces of the two porcelain dolls for a few seconds. Little Mickey nodded coolly and said morning indifferently. Ruru was completely different. She smiled brightly and cutely, waved her hands wildly, and said words like I'm so happy to see you, and my mood improved when I saw you. She was so coaxed. The servants narrowed their eyes with smiles. Looking at these two children, Qian Yuman was satisfied. Having such a pair of lovely children is the most perfect work of art in her life. The children were well behaved, sensible, and smart, and she didn't need to worry about anything. She was so happy. Grandma Tang, who had long heard that Qian Yuman would bring the twins this afternoon, had prepared a bunch of delicious food waiting for them. As soon as she saw their figures, Grandma Tang's serious expression suddenly blossomed, and she happily walked towards they waved. Come to Grandma's side quickly. Call Grandma. Grandma. Qian Yuman pushed the two little guys forward. This is not the first time that little Mickey has met Grandma Tang. He has already called her Grandma with ease. Ruru tilted her head and looked curiously at Grandma Tang, then at Mommy, then at her brother, and finally shouted sweetly at Grandma Tang. Grandma, good afternoon, Ruru likes you very much when she sees you. Ruru ran over quickly with her short legs, threw herself at Grandma Tang's feet, and hugged her thighs to act coquettishly. Ruru is innocent and innocent. Seeing that her brother Mickey treats Grandma Tang with respect and kindness, her little brain naturally understands that this grandma is extraordinary. Seeing the pile of delicious snacks next to my grandma, as well as her favorite white rabbit toffee, the little guy's mouth felt like it was covered in honey. After hearing Ruru's words, Grandma Tang kept nodding in agreement, squatting down and touching Ruru's little face. This is my great-granddaughter, she is so cute. If you ask Grandma Tang which of the twins she likes best, it must be Ruru. Even though Ruru was like smearing honey on her little mouth when they met for the first time, it was Grandma Tang's favorite. What's more, Grandma Tang has always taught Qian Yuman to have a daughter since she came to the Tang family. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1446. Chapter 1446 Feishan leaves 1. If you ask Grandma Tang which of the twins she likes best, it must be Ruru. Even though Ruru was like smearing honey on her little mouth when they met for the first time, it was Grandma Tang's favorite. What's more, from the time Qian Yuman came to the Tang family, Grandma Tang always taught Qian Yuman that she should have a daughter. If the first child didn't come out, she would continue to work hard for the second child. Who left her without a daughter? A daughter from her grandchildren, or a daughter born from that Lurong, it would be difficult to like her. I have always wanted to have a caring little daughter, but God seemed to be joking and encouraged the Tang family to have a son. With Ruru as a cute little guy, little Mickey's status in her heart will naturally drop a lot. Grandma Tang happily hugged Ruru and left. Little Mickey didn't care whether he left or not. He looked at Mommy innocently. Mommy, Grandma seems to like my sister more. Qian Yuman chuckled, raised her eyebrows, and said something that made her son vomit blood. I like my sister more than anything. It doesn't matter if I have you or not. I can't help it. You little guy can't imitate my sister and show a bright smile. Although you have a sweet mouth, you lack the blessing of Ruru's sincere smile. What's more, Ruru has Mr. Tang. The smaller version of the face is naturally more pleasing to the Tang family. So mommy, I'm at a disadvantage because I look like you, little Mickey concluded indifferently. You brat. Jian reached out and patted her son the head. It was not like she didn't understand the meaning of his words. It's an irony, how disadvantaged it is to look like her. It's simply like, what's wrong with her? You hit me on the head again. You're going to hit someone stupid. In order to get revenge on mommy, I decided to play with my grandma instead of mommy. Little Mickey was so angry that he left mommy and ran away. Jian was depressed. She looked at the pair of children. Just a moment ago, she was feeling proud of having them, but the next moment she abandoned her as a mother. Jian sighed as he walked into Tang's house. Tang Wentao has now returned to the Tang family. After being away for several months, this is the first time Tang Wentao has returned home. As soon as she got home, she asked to see a pair of children. Now that the children were taken away by Grandma Tang, she could only go to say hello alone. If she wanted to see the children, she could only ask Grandma Tang for them. Jian heard that Tang's father was watering his flowers in the garden, so she turned around and went to the garden to find Tang's father without stopping. After walking for a while, she heard a conversation. She immediately recognized the voice of one of the people as Tang Wentao, and the other person was Tang Feishan. Feishan is at home today too? Didn't we meet on the road just now? Jian originally wanted to turn around and leave, and was not in the habit of eavesdropping, but when she heard the content of their conversation, she stopped and couldn't help but wonder what they were talking about. Dad, I have already decided on this matter, Tang Feishan said calmly, but his attitude was very firm. Hey, Tang Wentao sighed deeply and looked at his second son in front of him. Are you leaving too? It's not about leaving, I just want to get away from you and see what results I can achieve by starting a business by myself. Tang Feishan comforted his father with a gentle smile, not wanting him to misunderstand his intentions. Although some time ago, in order to terminate the engagement with Guan Shuangbing, she and Tang Wentao were unhappy for a while, and at one point she had to leave the Tang family to be with Qi Lilei. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1447. Chapter 1447 Feishan leaves too. It's not about leaving, I just want to get away from you and see what results I can achieve by starting a business by myself. Tang Feishan comforted his father with a gentle smile, not wanting him to misunderstand his intentions. Although some time ago, in order to terminate the engagement with Guan Shuangbing, she and Tang Wentao were unhappy for a while, and at one point she had to leave the Tang family to be with Qi Lilei. As a result, Tang Feishan, who got the truth, and who was not with Qi Lilei, naturally had no reason to insist on leaving. In addition, Tang Wentao was still close to Jian in his heart and received news about Jian. The father and son temporarily put aside the issue of whether Qi Lilei could be the daughter-in-law of the Tang family and live together at Jian house. During this period, although Tang Feishan was still involved in managing the Tang dynasty group, he had already had the idea of leaving. He knew very well why Qi Lilei left him in the first place. One of the things is that he was held back by the Tang dynasty group, and he even wanted to get married for the Tang dynasty group's business some time ago. Looking back now, he has paid a lot for the Tang dynasty group for so many years, but the woman he loves cannot be by his side. This pain has been tormenting him. So, after several months of consideration, Tang Feishan told Tang Wentao that he wanted to go out and start his own business. This matter has been secretly being prepared, and now it is almost ready. I need to tell my father that he is officially leaving the Tang dynasty group. Why do you need me? This Tang dynasty group will not be left to you in the end. Tang Wentao frowned, looking at his son's determined face, and felt very complicated in his heart. He couldn't tell what his son's real willingness to leave was. Dad, Please stop trying to persuade me. Tang Feishan smiled and looked at the blue sky and white clouds. I have always been a good son in the past. This time, let me be willful. If I fail, I will naturally return to the Tang dynasty group to take over. Even though Tang Feishan said this, he and Tang Wentao knew in their hearts that he would not fail. In the past few years, Tang Feishan has been helping Tang Wentao. Gradually, he is no longer the center of attention and has continuously transferred his career to his son. Tang Feishan has also successfully made the Tang dynasty group better and better. Based on his understanding of his son, it is no problem to open a good large group. Is there no reason not to leave? Yes, Tang Feishan looked at his father with a smile. If you promise me and Lily I won't leave, even if you agree, Lily I won't be with me. Tang Feishan added the sentence bitterly in his heart. It's already too late. When he gave up the Tang dynasty group for Qi Lili and wanted to leave, he was not as determined to leave as he is now, and he felt somewhat unable to let go. Perhaps it was because Qi Lili noticed that she couldn't let go, and she refused to give her blessings. Qi Lili got tired and left. With this departure, there will no longer be any possibility between them. If he had been as determined as he is now, maybe they would still have a chance. Forget it. If you want to go out, just go out. Dad won't stop you. Tang Wentao sighed deeply, with a trace of sadness deep in his eyes. He is no longer young. Although he is still in good health, there is no problem in continuing to run the Tang dynasty group for more than 10 years. But there is no heir around him at all. The eldest son has already owned the Dihao group, which is larger than the Tang dynasty group. How could he look up to their small group? End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1448. Chapter 1448. Feishan leaves 3. But there is no heir around him at all. The eldest son has already owned the Dihao group, which is larger than the Tang dynasty group. How can he take a fancy to their small group? The younger son also left the Tang family and went to work in the eldest son's company because of what his wife did. I originally thought that with his second son, at least he would have an heir to his career. But now it seems that the children have grown up and are not so enthusiastic about the career he is doing. They are not willing to give away any of them. Why? Is he going to live a miserable old age? He wishes he could be like his mother and leave his career to the younger generation as soon as possible. Now it seems that it has become a hot potato. Thank you, Dad. Tang Feishan bowed deeply to express his gratitude to his father. This conversation went more smoothly than he expected. He thought he would have to spend a long time with his father, but he didn't expect that the matter would be resolved so smoothly. Qian Yuman was hiding in the corner and eavesdropping. Her little mouth had long been grinning from ear to ear. She could not believe the conversation between Tang Feishan and Tang Wentao. However, after thinking about it carefully, she felt that it was not strange at all. Tang Feishan could do such a thing. The decision was expected. Emotions can indeed change a person. Tang Feishan, the gentle and considerate son, finally escaped from the wings of his domineering father, spread his wings and soared, and was no longer a canary locked in a cage. But Qian Yuman shook his head and sighed. By doing this, Feishan is going to start a crazy pursuit? In my heart, I still don't want to give up like this. Do I want to work harder and win my sister's heart? This was wonderful. She could see that her sister still had some feelings for Tang Feishan. Now her sister and Murong's relationship was also stable. If an ex intervened, could Murong be able to withstand Tang Feishan's fierce attack? One is the predecessor and the other is the current one. Oops. This is going to be a headache. Qian Yuman couldn't help but start to sympathize with Murong yet. There is no third party that can intervene between her and Mr. Tang. No matter how many flowers and plants appear, We have long recognized each other. Although Mr. Tang is still arrogant now, they both know that sooner or later they will remarry. But as for my sister, she will be troubled to death. However, my sister has recently been considering whether to marry Murong yet. If she has already agreed, then Tang Feishan will really have no chance at all, and no matter how hard he tries, it may be in vain. According to Qi Lili's character, she would never be able to do such a thing as severing ties. Once she decides to marry Murong Ye, she will cut off all the love ties in the past. Qian Yuman sighed at the side, which was heard by the father and son who were having a conversation. He walked over and saw Qian Yuman squatting behind the canopy of the tree. The son in front of her disappeared. Qian Yuman raised her head and saw the father and son. Her face was suddenly embarrassed and she didn't know what expression to use. Hello. What a coincidence, you are also hiding from the sun here, Qian Yuman said in her heart, still a little embarrassed. The father and son could not tell that Qian Yuman was eavesdropping, but they did not pursue it. What they said was not very private and could not be heard by others. Tang Wentao looked at Qian Yuman. Are the babies here? Come on, come on. I'm playing with grandma now. Dad, do you want to go see Ruru? You haven't seen your grandson yet. Qian Yuman stood up with a smile. She squatted for a long time. When she stood up, she almost fell over, but luckily Tang Feishan held her back. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1449. Chapter 1449, Making Things Difficult for Manman 1. Come on, come on. I'm playing with grandma now. Dad, do you want to go see Ruru? You haven't seen your grandson yet. Qian Yuman stood up with a smile. She squatted for a long time. When she stood up, she almost fell over, but luckily Tang Feishan held her back. Thank you, Qian Yuman awkwardly thanked Tang Feishan. If he hadn't helped her in time, she would have been embarrassed. Tang Feishan calmed down, said nothing, nodded with them and left. He didn't care that Qian Yuman heard their conversation just now. Everyone knows his feelings for Qilil and cannot hide them. Tang Wentao glanced meaningfully at his sons leaving back. I'm going to see little Mickey. Tang's father left these words and left. He hadn't seen his lovely grandson for a long time and couldn't wait. What's more, his granddaughter is here today, so he should go and see his lovely grandson who he has never met before. Ruru. Qian Yuman smiled happily and quickly took a look at the scene of their grandfather and grandson meeting. Hey, bitch, an unhappy voice called Qian Yuman with a contemptuous tone. Qian Yuman heard the sound and guessed who was calling her, but she pretended not to hear and continued walking. As a joke, everyone calls her a bitch. If she stops, doesn't it mean that she is a bitch? Qian Yuman, did you hear me calling you? Tang Xinglu, with an angry look on her face, took long steps and stood in front of Qian Yuman. As a result, he didn't see clearly the step under his feet, so he flew out and fell flat on his face facing the ground. Ouch, it hurts me so much, Tang Xinglu wailed, and tears fell down. Her whole body was in pain at this moment, and the fall was not light. Qian Yuman, who was walking in, stopped and looked at Tang Xinglu, who was lying on the ground wailing and crying, and smiled with schadenfreude. She deserves it, this girl deserves it. She had just called her a bitch, but the retribution was coming right away. She fell so badly that it was inevitable that she would have some broken skin and bruises on her body. Tang Xinglu was worthy of being a delicate and wealthy young lady. She also wanted to attract everyone's attention when she wrestled. She started to wail at the top of her lungs after a few seconds of pain. Mom, Mom, woo-woo, Dad. Woo-woo. At this moment, Tang Xinglu was shouting almost with all her life, so loud that her eardrums were vibrating. Qian Yuman couldn't bear it and covered her ears, taking a small step back. She never thought about helping her from the beginning to the end, who asked her to provoke her as soon as they met. In the past, now and even in the future, this girl will not give her a good look. If she falls, she still wants her to help her? She is not a kind girl with overflowing sympathy. Tang Xinglu's crying immediately attracted the attention of Tang Wentao, who had just walked not far away. He walked over and saw his daughter sitting on the ground. Her body was covered in dust, her hands and feet had varying degrees of abrasions, her hair was messy, and she looked a little embarrassed. Xinglu. Dad, when Tang Xinglu saw her father, she started to cry and complain at the top of her lungs. My sister-in-law is too much. I greeted her just now, but she ignored me. I felt a little uncomfortable and said some harsh words, so she pushed me to the ground. Tang Xinglu loudly accused Qian Yuman, but there was a big difference between what she said and the actual situation. Qian Yuman just looked at Tang Yu's only sister, telling lies with her eyes open, unjustly accusing her and pushing her. How come this girl is not smart at all? It has been more than 3 years, and the scoundrel's trick is still the same. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1450. Chapter 1450 Making Things Difficult for Manman 2. Qian Yuman just looked at Tang Yu's only sister, telling lies with her eyes open, unjustly accusing her and pushing her. Why is this girl not smart at all? After more than 3 years, she still uses this trick to make false accusations. Although she is said to be Lu Rong's daughter, her IQ is less than 1/10 of Lu Rong's. The technique she was wrongly accused of was still the one she used badly before, and she didn't know how to use more tricks. Kong has a heart that wants to wrong people, but he doesn't have the skills to do so. Qian Yuman doesn't like Tang Xinglu at all, but she doesn't hate her. Because from the beginning to the end, this little girl was just a young lady with a temper, and she had never done anything harmful to the world. But she is Lu Rong's daughter, and Tang Xinglu doesn't like her either, so naturally she doesn't have a good relationship with her at all. Let alone a fall that dislocated her arm, she would not even raise an eyebrow. Facing Tang Xinglu's injustice, the expression on Qian Yuman's face did not change. She looked like she was watching a show, watching Tang Xinglu tearfully accuse her of her evil deeds. She was curious, how exaggerated was this girl? If she just pushed her, it would actually have no impact on her at all. However, Qian Yuman still failed. Tang Xinglu did not continue to accuse her, but insisted that it was Qian Yuman who was responsible for such evil behavior. Tang Wentao took a deep look at his daughter, and then at his daughter-in-law's expression as she watched the show. He was not so stupid that he couldn't see that his daughter was wronging her daughter-in-law. Get up quickly and ask your mother to apply medicine on you. Be careful of leaving scars on the wound, which will not look good. Tang Xinglu was so frightened when her father reminded her that she forgot to shed tears. She quickly got up from the ground and limped to her mother to treat the wound. Girls all love to be beautiful and cannot accept any scars. How can they still be in the mood to continue to wrongfully accuse Qian Yuman? It is more important to deal with the wounds. After Tang Xinglu ran away, Tang Wentao didn't say anything. He couldn't let an elder say sorry to Qian Yuman on his daughter's behalf. Qian Yuman thought that this was the end of the story. When she returned to the house, she saw the scene where Tang Wentao and Ruru, the grandson and grandson, met for the first time, which almost made her laugh and cry. Ruru is a little girl with a very sweet mouth, and she looks like Tang Yuj. When she meets Tang Wentao and knows that he is her father's father, she naturally has to say a lot of nice things. Tang Wentao, a man who lives in shopping malls and is used to seeing big waves, turned into a doting grandson under Ruru's sweet words. He held Ruru in his arms and kept communicating. Even his most precious grandson, little Mickey, just touched his head. It's strange that little Mickey has no resentment in his heart at this moment. Since the appearance of his sister, his brother's status has plummeted and he has almost become a marginalized figure in the family. All the favor began to transfer to Ruru, and he became a little pitiful person. But when I think about myself as an older brother, and when I think about Ruru not growing up with her biological parents, as an older brother, I give in to my younger sister. Don't mention it, he also likes the sister very much, and he is a little sister-in-law who doesn't allow outsiders to bully his sister. After taking care of the wound, Tang Xinglu ran out with her mother and accused Qian Yuman of the crime in front of Grandma Tang. The content was nothing more than the conversation with Tang Wentao about how excessive Qian Yuman was. At this moment, Tang Xinglu's body was bruised in many places, and some wounds were covered with tape. She looked quite pitiful. End of this chapter.